Hey guys, so holy shit, it's 2024 and I'm already almost 3 months late making this video. But mentally, I've been planning this whole year and I've already made some progress. So I wanted to lay out what kind of progress that I think that I'm going to be making this year and what I hope to achieve in 2024. So starting out the year of 2024, I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've come here for the winter because I live in my car and it's too cold to stay in Ohio. So as soon as it warms up, I'm going back to Ohio to take care of some of my business. And that does affect what I end up doing and how I'm going to carry out my plans. So first of all, I have to say that last year, and really the year before that, was completely just dominated by me dealing with legal stuff and the lawsuit. And that's mostly over now. There's a few loose ends I have to tie up, which most of those will be done this year. There's a couple things in the next couple months that are on a timeline, but beyond that, it opens up my time and availability quite a lot. I don't have nearly as much to worry about coming up here soon. So those things are kind of off my plate where I can focus on other things. And that said, because that and the relationship have taken every second of my life for like the last 3 years at least, this is a year of catching up. That's not a very clearly defined goal, I get that, but there's so much that I have to do that I can't really put specific goals out there because every aspect of my life is so far behind and so neglected that I just have to fix what I can where I can. And I've already done some of that. Some of this stuff is going to sound so trivial, but just in taking steps to get my life together, this has helped immensely. One of those things is I had something like 100 tabs open on Chrome on my computer. I've probably got that down to more like 40 now. Now, still I'm going through them. I'm going to be taking care of whatever needs to be taken care of to get that down to a reasonable number. But those have accumulated as things that I needed to follow up on and just didn't have time. Now, another thing that I've mentioned is I have something in the range of 12,000 unread emails, where I had 47 before all this drama started. Eventually, I gotta work my way through that. And when I say these goals, I'm not necessarily saying all this is gonna get done in 2024, or even that email in particular is gonna be tackled. But these are just some examples of things that have gotten behind that need caught up on. And they also probably won't be contained just to 2024. As much time as I've lost to all this, most of this is gonna have to go for multiple years. So the overarching goal really is just to get caught up. And part of that is, let's clean out the storage unit. Let's fix all the past things on the car that have been deferred. Just yesterday, I got an oil change. It'd been 15,000 miles. They, of course, gave me a list of stuff that needs fixed. That's gonna be a few $1,000s. And so getting that stuff repaired is gonna be a big focus this year. On top of that, I've got to do all my taxes that I'm behind on. First I gotta find the paperwork. I think it's somewhere in storage, which requires me to get caught up on the storage payments. So basically everything is behind because this has had to be my entire focus. And there's not a simple way to do all of this because some stuff has to be done in a certain order. But I'm doing my best to catch up on everything, make everything around me better. And I'm not gonna be able to catch everything. It's too much. But I'm gonna focus on the things that I can. And whether that be eliminating some of the notifications on my phone, or probably the next thing is replacing my engine air filter, which as far as I know has never been replaced in the 6 or 7 years that I've had the car. Things like that. these are things that just in general, I got to get caught up on to get my shit together and to get my life back together. Now, a big part of that is money, right? What am I doing for money? Well, in the background, I've been continuing to grow the business as far as furniture assembly. And it has ups and downs. Right now we're in a down. But we're about to hit the busy summer months. So I should be doing pretty all right with all that. But I am expanding to different cities. I am having people come on board and help me. I'm building a website. I've already built a brand, which I will release to you guys once I get all that information together and ready. Another thing as far as money is I actually want to earn less, at least from gig apps. I have put so many miles on my car. In the last 2 years, I think I've put more than 60,000 miles on my car, which is why everything is worn out and I've got to replace it now. And a lot of that was commuting to Columbus for work, but also a lot of it was doing DoorDash and Instacart. And it's not like I had a choice. I was desperate for money and that was the only way I could get it. But although Mint, that I've used for years to document my financial goals and to do my budget reviews, it's shutting down here in a few days. And I've used it for 12 years. So I don't know what to do when that happens. But even though I haven't been very diligent in the last couple of years with everything going on at really categorizing every expense on there, I did go through and for 2023, I pretty roughly went through every month and correctly categorized at least the income. And I was really shocked at what I saw because I made a ton of money from TaskRabbit last year. But despite that, I made more money from DoorDash than anything else. And that's terrifying. I mean, DoorDash is barely profitable. And yet I made more money from that than any other place. And that means that I'm barely making a profit on my biggest source of income. And I'm also like putting all those miles in my car, which are going to need future repairs. That's really scary to me. And so even though I desperately need the money, and it might mean that I get farther behind on payments, this year is going to be the year that I don't do gig work very much. I still will here and there on holidays and, maybe like a few here and there, but I'm not going to rely on it. Like let's just set a solid goal. I want less than 25% of my income to come from gig work. I'm not counting TaskRabbit in that. That's sort of different, but Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, that kind of thing. I want no more than 25% of my income at the end of 2024 to have come from that, which means that I've got to do a lot to build my own income sources so that that doesn't happen. Now, the other thing, and I'm not even going to bother numbering the goals this year just because we know the overarching theme is just get your shit together. But another thing, as far as income that also has to deal with housing, is am I going to be offered the fraternity job back? See, if I'm offered the fraternity job back, I'll be given a stipend and I'll be given a place to live. I think you can see the benefits in that. I don't need to explain that. But I don't know if it's going to be offered for sure. And if it is, I don't know where they're going to have an opening. It could be somewhere terrible. So clearly if it's awful, like if it's like University of Alaska, like I'm not going to take that. But if it's somewhere reasonable, I'll probably take it. Now it was February, I believe, of 2021 when they first posted the ad that I applied to where I first got this position when I was going to go to Raleigh. It was June of last year when they reached out to me and told me that Raleigh was open again and offered it to me. So it could be anywhere between now and June that I would hear from them to know if a position's available. But I did tell them last year to reach out to me this year, and they said they would. So if I start seeing them posting ads for it, I'll contact them and ask. I guess if I don't, I might eventually do that too. I think this is, now I didn't set this goal for myself, but somebody in the comments, and I think it was the Well-Behaved Wallet, said, let's make a goal for this year, getting housed. Well, the only way that I see that as feasible is if I get a free apartment through working for the fraternity. And I agree that that's probably best solution for me right now. So I am gonna try to make that happen, but it does kind of, well, it depends on them, and it depends on what positions they have open and where those positions are. So that's something we're just gonna have to wait and see. And then what I do for the rest of the year with really everything else also depends on whether I get that. Because if I get that position, they're gonna want me to move as early as like mid to late July. So it could be that I go back to Ohio in May, and then I leave 2 months later to move who knows where. And because of that, I have to move my whole business. It's gonna affect how much that I can actually work on cleaning out the storage unit. It's gonna have an effect on so many areas of my life. And because of that, because I don't know if that one big thing is going to happen, I can't really plan too much for the second half of the year. I basically just have to kind of wait and see. And if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing now. I'm gonna ride out the busy season through TaskRabbit while continuing to try to build the business on the side of generating leads for that on my own. And that way, hopefully, when it slows down in winter, it's more sustainable, where I'm still bringing in some work on my own when TaskRabbit slows down. But that's just the plan, and I'm not really in control of all that. I have to just wait and see. So just to recap, that's an overarching goal of getting my shit together and getting caught up. The biggest parts of that are going to be how I'm going to be making money, and if the fraternity is going to offer me that job back. And the second part is just the actual physical getting things processed and doing the work to get the backlog of everything fixed. So that I can throw myself into now while I'm waiting on the other. So what I'm setting here as goals really only apply to the first half of the year until I find out about that job. And I will continue doing that for now. This year, unless some absolutely crazy thing happens in my life, which seems to happen more often than not, but I'm going to really try to make a mid-year update. And at that time, we can kind of review how much progress I've made. And then we can talk about whether I got the job with a fraternity or not. And then we can talk about, what to do for the second half of the year based on that. But as of right now, those goals are pretty nebulous, but they have to be. I have to be pretty flexible in what I'm gonna be able to accomplish when and how. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to get my life together and relieve some of the stress that I feel constantly from just being behind on everything by actually focusing my attention on catching that stuff up. And that's gonna take a ton of time. Making videos, trying to get back on track with that as well. That's part of all of that. So thank you guys for sticking with me through the last 2 or 3 years. Well, my life has been absolute hell, and I have just been dealing with all of this stuff. I will eventually, as part of this process, be able to tell you guys what all happened with that, so you can understand why it took so much time away from me. And until then, just trust me, it was necessary to divert the attention, and now I've got to refocus that attention to just myself and getting my life together again. So thank you guys for sticking with me through 3 years of me just having chaos constantly. I know that's not entertaining to watch, so I really do appreciate the guys that stuck with me through all of that and are still here wanting to wanting to see me succeed. So thank you again for that, and I will make a video in early July updating you on the progress that I've made so far on these goals.